The point with Greece, though, and I'm going to try and wrap up soon, is the point with Greece is that there is an absence of rule of law because nothing seems to happen. There's no enforcement of the laws. There's this culture whereby everyone can do whatever the hell they like and to hell with the consequence, and if we're found out, we might face the consequences. Now that's a sin of omission. If we go to Turkey, we see the sin of commission, and that's a really important follow-up point. But before I go to Turkey, I've just got to give you this wonderful quote about Greece. According to Eurostat, during the period 1997 to 2004, 10% of all infringement cases brought before the European Court of Justice related to Greece. This put Greece in third place on the naughty list. At least it was behind France and Italy. And according to the European Union, in July 2000, Greece became the first EU member state to be fined for not complying with EU case law. The Court of Justice imposed a daily fine on Greece of €20,000. It took Greece 6 months to comply and ended up paying a total of €4.7 billion. But they only had to pay €20,000. It's amazing! But it sums up my point that in Greece there is a sin of omission, and hence there is no proper rule of law. With Turkey, the situation is more troublesome because Turkey, as we know from successive decisions of the European Court of Human Rights, as we know from Amnesty International reports, there's no human rights culture as we understand it over here. Regrettably, there are incidents of torture. There are incidents of academics, of journalists and of others being denied free speech. But perhaps worst of all in the context of Cyprus, there are manifest breaches of the rule of law. And I'll just give you one example among many that I can cite, but here's just one example. The 6th paragraph of Article 49 of the 1949 Fourth Geneva Convention provides the following. The occupying power shall not deport or transfer part of its own civilian population into the territory it occupies. Now you can see why politicians don't like lawyers, because only a lawyer would go and find the 6th paragraph of Article 49 of the Fourth Convention of 1949. But that's what we lawyers are trained to do. And it's clear that Turkey's in breach of that in its transportation or encouragement of settlers to go into the occupied north. The International Court of Justice indicated the following in the context of occupied Palestinian territory. This is in a separate case, but the principle nonetheless, I would argue, is applicable in Cyprus. The Geneva Convention prohibits not only deportation or forced transfers of populations, such as those carried out during the Second World War, but also any measures taken by an occupying power in order to organise or encourage transfers of parts of its own population into the occupied territory. And what we're seeing in the occupied north is a blatant violation of that principle. And the blatant violation is resulting in the sort of situation that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, by just reminding everybody here that if we're going to have a settlement in Cyprus, it requires 3 guaranteeing powers to put their signature to it, especially if there are to be amendments to the Treaty of Establishment and, I hope, a rescission of the Treaty of Guarantee and Treaty of Alliance. Now, how can we pin any faith on states that don't have a very good track record of complying with the rule of law? Now, Greece is a benign actor. Is Turkey? If Turkey today cannot accept that it is an occupying power in Cyprus, although it has done it in a sense with the Mogulos case, but if it cannot accept that what it did in '74 was an invasion, what guarantee is there that they're not going to mount another peace operation in 10 years' time? Can anybody now envisage Germany re-invading Poland? Or France? That's because Germany engaged in a transformation that has resulted in its status as a modern European democracy, although it doesn't give money to Greece. I'll just conclude, now this is the final conclusion, by just taking this back to the United Kingdom, the great country in which we live in. It's been tarnished under New Labour. universities had no money. And if anybody has any money to give out universities, please put your hands in your pocket. But notwithstanding New Labour's dreadful record, our judges, including Lord Bingham and others, have done us proud as Europeans and as Democrats. And it's very interesting and it's quite sobering and moving that in October of last year, the new Supreme Court of the United Kingdom was established in Westminster in order to create a greater separation of powers between the executive and judicial branches of government. The symbol chosen by the new justices of the Supreme Court to exemplify the rule of law in this country and the court of which they are now part was the Greek letter Omega. Omega symbolising not just the scales of justice, but also the finality of justice. And it's equally sobering, ladies and gentlemen, that in the library of the new Supreme Court in Westminster, carved into the woodwork, one finds 11 quotations taken by 11 great figures from history. I'm going to just read to you 3 of these quotations, and I'll end with these 3 quotations. And remember, these are carved into the woodwork of our new Supreme Court library. The first is by Plato. He who commits injustice is ever more wretched than he who suffers it. The second is by Plato's student, Aristotle. It is in justice that the ordering of society is centred. And the third one I'll bring to your attention squares the circle. I began by referring to the civil rights movement in America, and I'll end with the civil rights movement by drawing your attention to Martin Luther King, who, like Gandhi, paid the ultimate price. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable web of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly. I conclude.
Thank you, Klearchos. As ever, an excellent speech and a powerful speech. Thank you very much. Now turning to